Listen, that is the sound of a nation exhaling for the last time in freedom. In less than a fortnight, the proudest army on earth, 3 million bayonets strong, will be a column of dust on an enemy road. And yet, but for the men inside those horizon blue greatcoats, the word surrender is not an epitaph. It is a prologue. Tonight, they do not yet know whether they will become captives, conspirators, martyrs, or the shock troops of a resurrection no one believes possible. Their only certainty is uncertainty, so keep watching. Because what happens to a soldier when his flag is lowered is one of the most misunderstood sagas of the Second World War. This is not the story of a single defeat. It is the odyssey of an entire generation forced to choose, again and again, what it means to be French. Some choices would be heroic, some would be wretched, all would be irreversible. Before we follow those soldiers into captivity, exile, collaboration, or revolt, we must understand the army they once were. September 1939. The newspapers call it drôle de guerre, the phony war. But inside the bunkers of the Maginot Line, the silence is anything but funny. Here, 40 meters below the birch forests of Lorraine, time drips like rust from the ceiling. The men guarding this concrete labyrinth are not the trim teenagers of propaganda posters. They are 45-year-old reservists with scarred lungs and memories of Verdun. Their helmets still bear the single red stripe of 1918. Their wives knit in village parlors, praying the Germans have also grown too weary to fight. Above ground, colonial regiments from Senegal, Morocco, and Algeria dig new latrines in the frost. They sing in Bambara and Arabic, languages the Alsatian sergeants cannot understand, yet every man shares the same suspicion. The generals are preparing yesterday's war. France has mobilized 4.5 million souls, but only 3 million rifles. 1 million are still en route from depots. Another 400,000 exist only on ledgers. Tanks? Yes. 3,000 modern machines, thicker armored and heavier gunned than anything the Wehrmacht possesses. But they are parceled out in penny packets, tied to horse-drawn artillery for infantry support. The doctrine is 1918 with a petrol engine, methodical battle, controlled fronts, the sacred defensive. No one has told the French high command that the world has traded the plodding shoe for the wheel. 10 days. That is all it takes for Guderian's panzers to punch through the Ardennes, terrain the French staff swore was impenetrable to tanks. By the time the order to retreat is given, entire divisions are already pocketed against the Channel. On the docks of Dunkirk, French rearguards hold the perimeter while the Royal Navy ferries home the British Expeditionary Force. 1,000 fishing boats, yachts, and paddle steamers dart back and forth under Stuka dives. When the last British boot leaves the mole, the French 17th Corps still stands in the sand dunes, rifles hot, buying hours they will never be repaid. 6 weeks after the first shot, the tricolor is hauled down from the staff cars in Compiègne Forest, inside the same railway carriage where Germany signed the 1918 armistice. Hitler insists on the symbolism. France insists on survival. The document signed on the 22nd of June divides the country into two unequal moieties, the North and the Atlantic coast under direct German military rule, the South under a satellite administration headquartered in the spa town of Vichy. Army, demobilized. Navy, to be scuttled or interned. Empire, uncertain. And the soldiers, what of them? 1.9 million become prisoners of war overnight. Most have never fired their rifles in anger. They are ordered by their own officers to stack arms, to form columns, to march east, into Germany. The Wehrmacht is stunned by its own success. No barracks exist for 2 million men. No kitchens, no latrines, no medical staff. In the first fortnight, the captives are herded into sun-scorched meadows ringed with barbed wire and called stalags. Water comes from a single pump. Bread is a gray brick sawn with a carpenter's plane. Yet the guards are few. The wire is improvised. And the countryside of occupied France is only a hedge away. Hundreds of thousands slip into the dusk, some because they are brave, others because they are bored, most because they cannot bear the shame of captivity without a wound to justify it. But the majority stay. They stay because discipline is the last identity left to them. They stay because the Geneva Convention whispers promises of mail, of parcels, of eventual exchange. They stay because, somewhere inside, they believe the war will end soon and honor will count. Autumn. The rails clank toward the Rhine. Colonial prisoners, Senegalese, Malagasy, Algerians, are separated and kept in France as a labor pool. White metropolitan troops cross the river into the Reich. Each man receives a new name, Kriegsgefangene, war prisoner. They are dispatched to farms, coal mines, sugar beet factories. The work is not, by design, lethal. Death rates hover below 2%, far lower than Soviet or Polish captives. But the calendar is the real torment. 5 harvests, 5 Christmases without midnight mass. Half the prisoners are married. 39% have children who will learn to walk, to read, to whistle entire songs while Papa lugs turnips in Saxony. Letters arrive. 30 words, censored with the patience of a monk scraping parchment. Packages, too. Dried fruit, saccharin tablets, a photograph creased down the center where the censor has unfolded it looking for maps. Inside every parcel is an unspoken question. Do you still remember who you were? While the prisoners count the days, history pivots elsewhere. On the 18th of June, a junior brigadier general named Charles de Gaulle steps into a BBC studio and speaks a sentence that will echo like a cathedral. Bell, France has lost a battle. France has not lost the war. Few in France ever hear the broadcast. Fewer still are moved. Of 130,000 French servicemen in Britain after Dunkirk, less than 3,000 volunteer to continue the fight. The rest queue for repatriation, convinced the game is over. To fill the ranks, de Gaulle turns to the empire. From the high plateaus of Chad, the swamps of Congo, the souks of Morocco, 15,000 African soldiers embark on British hulls. They will become the Free French, later the Fighting French. Their first battle is a disaster. A clumsy naval assault on Dakar in September 1940 is repulsed by Vichy gunners who were their comrades 4 months earlier. But in the scrub of Eritrea, in the siege of Kufra, in the dunes of Libya, they learned the grammar of victory. Bir Hakeim, 26th of May 1942. 3,700 Frenchmen, Africans, Europeans, Foreign Legion, dig a ragged rectangle in the Libyan sand. Outside the perimeter, Rommel's Africa Corps plus 2 Italian divisions, 35,000 men, mass for the knockout blow that will open the road to Alexandria. For 16 days the French hold, artillery duels at noon, bayonet raids at midnight. Water is rationed to a cup a day. The radio call sign is last stand. When the order to break out finally comes, they slip through Axis lines in the darkness, carrying their wounded, leaving only a minefield and a legend. Churchill cables de Gaulle. The whole empire is proud to salute you. Stalin, grinding outside Moscow, sends a telegram. Even the London Times, no habitual flatterer of France, concedes. The French soldier has shown the world that the defeat of 1940 was an accident of strategy, not of spirit. Yet for every Frenchman who fights under the Cross of Lorraine, another dons the uniform of the victor, of Vichy. Marshal Pétain, the octogenarian victor of Verdun, is allowed an army of 100,000, same number as Versailles once imposed on Weimar Germany. Its purpose is not to defend France, but to police her. Officers who escaped capture polish boots, lecture on anti-communism, march in parades where the flag bears the anchor and axe of the new order. When Germany occupies the southern zone in November 1942, these troops are ordered back to barracks without firing a shot. Their rifles, still greased for storage, become museum pieces of humiliation. From the ashes of this dismantled army, a harder faction emerges. In January 1943, the Legion of French Volunteers Against Bolshevism parades down the Champs-Élysées, now renamed Avenue of the Occupied. Territories. Barely 2,000 strong, they wear German helmets and French collar tabs. Among them are students, monarchists, former communists who swapped the red flag for the swastika overnight. They are rushed to the snow outside Moscow with rifles issued the week before. Temperature falls to -30. Frostbite turns boots into blocks of wood. The first assault wave loses a third of its men to machine gun nests they were told were already silenced. Within a month, the Legion is pulled out, shattered. Survivors are folded into the Waffen-SS Charlemagne Division. By 1945, 300 of these Frenchmen, now wearing the death's head, defend the Reichstag. They are among the last to surrender, shooting at Soviet sappers from the ruins of the Kaiser's balcony. Even more tragic is the fate of Alsace-Lorraine, annexed into the Reich. 13,000 French soldiers from the region are released from POW cages only to be drafted into the Wehrmacht. They wear the field gray tunic, but their dog tags still read Franzos.